welcome you to the Pantheon. I'm your host, Ray, and today we're looking at Underworld Awakening, the Kate Beckinsale 2012 film. This movie came out just at the height of the 3D craze. When Rise of the Lycans came out, that was the same year as Avatar, and since then, for the next 3 to maybe 4 to 5 years, any film that was commercially released in theatrical, people wanted it in 3D. That was the trend. So this film was the first movie out of the 5 films to be shot in 3D. It had a really good outcome. I actually enjoyed it watching it in 3D. It was meant to be shown in 3D, as opposed to some films which are like done in post-production. It was done well. The budget was $70 million. It was the most expensive budget out of all the 5 films. Partially it's because it was shot in 3D, I'm not sure. But overall, it made its money back. Like all the other movies in the franchise, whatever the budget was, it always doubled its money back in the overall box office. So it was $70 million for a budget. It made $160 million back, and it was well received overall. It really was well received. In my personal opinion, the original trilogy is probably the better one. This is a reboot because the character of Selena is going on her own. What the title says, Awakening. The character was put on ice for 12 years. She wakes up, and at this point, mankind is aware of the werewolves and the lycans. Sorry, the lycans and the vampires, and they're being eliminated across the board, and they're almost near extinction. Her clan, the lycans, as far as we know, they've all been like in hiding and gone underground. Mankind is taking the power back because without Alexander Arenas, the father of all this, who's been cleaning up after the messes of the 800-year battle, there's no one left to clean up the mess. So the body counts and the carnage from lycans and vampires kind of spilled into in the public eye. So now the world's aware of their existence, and of course, man will not be denied. They want to be the ape. No one wants to be taken off to being the apex predator, so they're being hunted, and so Selena and Michael. Now, Scott Speedman opted out of this movie, so he's no longer in this film, unfortunately. So you see, the character Michael is still prevalent, but they shot it in such a way so that you don't see him very clearly. And because they're put on ice, there's an incident where they are like captured, and for 12 years they've been on ice and unaware of that. And then during that process, they have a daughter named Eve, and Eve is a hybrid like Michael, who's part vampire, part lycan or werewolf, and her genetics can unlock this secret to tip the scales for either werewolf or for lycan. And the werewolves want her because they can manipulate her DNA to make them stronger. So that is the gist of the movie. The cast is relatively unknown. It's all new. Some are well-known actors like Stephen Ray and Charles Dance. Then you have Theo James. Theo James went on 2 years later would go on to do the Divergent series, and it became a big star. You know, up there with Hunger Games. But at this point, he was an unknown actor, and cutting his teeth in this film. You have Chris Holden Reed, who at this point was an established television actor. He was in the series Lost Girl playing a cop / werewolf. He plays a werewolf in this movie, which was kind of interesting because this one is like an uber werewolf, and I only wish that character could exist in the series because it'd be so much more. But for $70 million, you can make anything you want happen, and they made him like a giant wolf. The movie here had its nuggets. You have a giant werewolf, like an uber werewolf that Selena has to battle. You have the tech of like mankind going after trying to eradicate both sides, and you have a woman who was the hunter now being the hunted. So you had that dynamic, you had that interest, you have that percolating sense of like urgency playing throughout the whole film. And now she finds out that she is a mother who has to protect this child who is part of Michael's DNA as well. And everyone's looking for Michael because he's kind of gone AWOL. But the fact that Kate Beckinsale came back for this, and she, at this point now, her career was up and down. I mean, at this same year, she had the movie Contraband with Mark Wahlberg that came out. It was a commercially successful film. It opened #1 at the box office. Her role was a supporting role, so she played the wife. So it wasn't that big of a role, but at least it was respectable, and that movie did really well. Didn't harm or detract of her career, her status at all. She also did Total Recall that same year, That movie didn't do too well. It kind of hurt her career, but it was a commercially well known, and people even to this day refer to it as a commercially well known movie. Negatively, but it's well known. When she did Rise of the Lycans, she had the movie Click. She had the movie Van Helsing, not so good. Click with Adam Sandler, commercially successful film. She played the wife, similar to Contraband. It didn't harm her career, but it kept her stock or her notoriety in Hollywood up there. When she did Van Helsing with Hugh Jackman, again another big name star, like Total Recall, not well received, but like Pearl Harbor or like Whiteout, the movies she does, movies that were on paper it should be like an amazing film. It's like Michael Bay, a blockbuster Titanic-esque movie, and does not do too well. Van Helsing, on the heels of Wolverine, on the heels of doing the first Underworld movie, you would think it would do well. Not so much. It was more like a League of Extraordinary Gentlemen type of graphics, and it wasn't that well received. So it's hit and miss. So her character, like her choices were good. She did The Aviator with Leonardo DiCaprio, amazing film. She had a strong role in that one, well received. And then she did Whiteout, another another movie where she's a lead role. It was marketed like The Thing, but really it wasn't really a horror movie. It was just the situation of it being stranded in a remote location during a whiteout. It was promoted like there was something deep or scary in the snow, but when you see the movie, it's a very disappointing movie because the marketing really gave you a false sense of idea of what was going on. So her career up until this point, solid. Yes, ups and downs, ebbs and flows, but she was always in the mainframe of Hollywood and in the audiences. For example, 2021, she did the movie Jolt. She went back to her roots of being an action star. Amazing film. Evie and I reviewed that movie last year. You probably find it if you look back on it. Again, it was kind of like Crank meets La Femme Nikita. Good movie, solid role. Proves that she can do the action stuff. It proves she has a lot to step. So I look forward to seeing more of her stuff. Hopefully, she has a couple more films coming out in 2023, 2024. So she's not forgotten. She is still a mainstay in Hollywood, and hopefully, whether it's drama, whether it's action, I think she'll still be a force to be reckoned with. And with that, I'm Ray. We'll talk to you next time. Take care.